You're listening to the Everyone's Wrong podcast. We leave trigger warnings, safe spaces, political correctness behind to explore the extremes of political discourse.
Hey, you fucks, this is Everyone's Wrong. I'm Dave, a.k.a. the Great White North.
I'm Dustin Dark, a.k.a. Pocahontas.
And I'm Ed, a.k.a. the Noob.
So we have Ed Smith and Pocahontas. It's our own little fucking pioneer story. The ships have landed ashore, bringing smallpox and death.
Oh,
man,
they should have built a wall.
They should have. And you shouldn't have started a fucking offensive joke if you didn't want me to finish it.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was just too damn easy. Smith, Pocahontas.
Oh, you know what? I just caught the Smith because it's John Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kidnapped and banged. How old was she? What's
14.
What was that story? There's like the story I was told in school.
He was 42. He was 42. She was 14.
Yeah, and he dragged her back to England too.
Yeah. Did he buy her? Did she go willingly?
No.
Like how did it work?
No, he just dragged her.
He married her. Powhatan was the actual tribe. They were Powhatan, and the chief married his daughter to John Smith, and he drug her over to.
Okay,
she didn't want to go to England,
and it just so happened she was one of the natives that was immune to the smallpox dick. So that's convenient for her.
One of the two. If it was Ed's dick, it was definitely a small dick.
Oh,
hey, listen,
fucking low blow.
You know what's really bad about this whole thing though is I'm a half breed, so therefore I have the Smith side and the Pocahontas side mashed. It's like, oh.
So you diddle yourself.
Yeah.
I have so many signs that I don't know what to call them. No, but I want to give a quick take on the Trump Pocahontas comment. I know it's been a little while. We took some time off there during the holiday, so I just want to throw it out there real quick. What he's doing is branding Elizabeth Warren. That was the whole point. He's called her Pocahontas a few times before. And the reason is that she applied for a Native American, as a Native American to Harvard and got like a $250,000 a year job, as a Native American when she is as white as the pure driven snow. And he's running defense for the upcoming election. I know it's 3 years away. Outside of Bernie, she was the most popular person on the progressive last year, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. But hold on. So the party of the downtrodden and the minority, the person that's going to run for them took advantage of the affirmative action programs in the United States against the group that can probably claim the greatest grievance against the United States. I think that's what he was doing. And by the way, if you go to Pocahontas.com now, it redirects you to Elizabeth Warren's webpage.
Okay, but here's the issue with it is that it was a serious event, right? Like it had nothing to do with Elizabeth Warren, and it wasn't really a joking matter.
That's true.
Okay, so it's not offensive. It's not offensive, right? Like it's not like he said like something that's like outlandishly offensive, and even some of those Native American the wind talkers that were interviewed afterwards said that they didn't find it offensive. They just didn't know what the fuck he was going on about. It's like, why are you doing that? Are you fucking retarded? And there's been a I don't know if you guys are getting this news in the U.S., but there's this doctor who's saying that he thinks that Trump has degenerative brain disease.
Oh, okay. So he did it at that moment because he knew it would cause controversy, and that's the hook.
Okay, but it doesn't mean it's
that's how he's
good.
Branding.
But it doesn't mean
no, I'm not saying it's good. Okay, so he's not being racist. He's look. I'm trying to understand what he's doing.
Okay, but here's my issue. I could care less if he calls Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. That
Right.
to me is, a jab or a troll of Elizabeth Warren.
It's funny.
Fine. But when you're talking to people who risked their lives and for the country that when they came home treated them like shit, and they're only now finally getting recognition for what they've done, and basically helped the United States win the war because their native language was the one that allowed them to transmit secret strategies back and forth to
both countries' natives did it though. It wasn't just.
Yes.
It wasn't just.
No, but I'm just talking specifically about the United States
Yes.
for the, help the Allies win the war, and they're only now getting recognition for that. And I think it was inopportune time to do it. But however, I don't find it offensive.
It was the most opportune. It was the least appropriate. But let's be honest, a lot of people that voted for him to smash the political correct.
But that's not just being
movement.
political correctness.
No, but it is smashing it. Look, and once again, I'm not saying that what he did was a good thing. I think that he was being true to a lot of his voting base when he did it. B, did you know that he had called her Pocahontas 2 or 3 times before?
Oh yeah, I didn't find it offensive.
I had not heard that. Well, it's not offensive that he's calling her that. It's funny. But now everyone has heard it. That was the point.
Yeah, but I mean, it was the wrong time to do it because these men and that served their country deserved a better respect than that.
I agree with you, Ed, but do you understand how it was also the perfect time?
No.
Because it's when it gives it the most legs.
Like, he could have done it in a press conference after. He could have done it in a press conference before, leading up to it. Yeah, I could see that because then it would have given gravitas to it. But you're saying it's giving it more gravitas because it was actually then. I think
because it's more offensive. The very thing that's making you say that's the wrong time is what made it the right time in his perspective.
In his perspective, but that doesn't actually make sense?
Right. Look, once again, I'm just trying to explain what I think he was doing.
Okay, so I think making a mockery of any World War II vet ceremony is fucking bullshit. That's what I
agreed. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
And he made a mockery by calling out somebody that had nothing to do with what was fucking going on. It was like, and Elizabeth Warren, like, who gives a fuck? She wouldn't win anyways. It doesn't matter. Even she could be after Bernie, the next most popular. She wouldn't win an election.
I think that she would have a decent shot at the Democratic primary.
Yeah, I think she would too. She has a bigger voting. If she went, she would have a better outcome than Bernie would.
Was it her name? Donna Brazier, right? The lady, the DNC chair right now, the one that just came out with all the information. She pretty much smeared the DNC pretty hard. So it's going to be really hard for an establishment Democrat to win the primary in 3 years, particularly in the internet age when everyone can link back to these articles in 3 years, right?
Well, but hey, just get 8 women to say that Bernie put his arm around their waist and then he's off the ticket, right?
Yeah.
Well, or will Bernie be alive in 3 years? Time will tell. Time will tell.
I think he's in better shape than fucking old Trumpenstein.
Yeah, but Dave, explain to the listener why
I said that. Okay, so feminist, prominent Twitter feminist, don't ask me to recall her name, put out a call to arms for women to get Bernie off the ballot by saying that he put his arm around the waist of them while giving selfies, and it should only take 8. So if you don't mind putting your name out there or even do it anonymously, she's got a call to arms for you to fuck Bernie over.
And this is highly
Evil.
disgusting.
Pure evil.
Well, you got to get Hillary back on that fucking ticket somehow, son.
Hillary has zero chance of winning. If Hillary runs again and buys the primary again, it is Trump we have 7 more years of Trump.
If Hillary makes it through if she makes it through the primary, I'm going to walk to the border. I'm going to pour gasoline on the United States and I'm going to flick a match at you.
I just want to remind you that the FBI has a flashlight up my ass right now, Dave. I just want to remind you of that.
Come at me, bitch.
Well, it's a nice knowing you, Dave.
That's here. Actually, that's not even true because they've kidnapped Canadian citizens. They have.
As far as that goes, we've paid Canadian doctors to dose patients with LSD to see what happens. Which you're welcome, Dave.
Well, it was actually Canadian prisoners, and it was both CSIS and the FBI that were involved.
I'm pretty sure they did it to mental patients in Canada too. Like more stuff comes out about Operation Paperclip all the time. Yeah. That's not Operation Paperclip. That's Operation
LSD.
No.
I'm feeling high.
Operation Everybody's fucking tripping.
Anyway.
All right. Anyways, I think it was just a bad timing and just uncalled for and didn't really have a place in what was going on. That's just my opinion. Wasn't offended though.
Right.
I just thought it was, how do you say that? Never mind. I forget. It's all good. I need some alpha brain, obviously.
me too, because I'm having trouble remembering this government conspiracy about.
Bad form. It was just bad form. Very British term.
MK Ultra. Damn. That took me too long. Like I am ashamed of myself. I used to be so into conspiracy theories. I cannot believe I forgot the name of MK Ultra.
You should be ashamed of yourself for being into conspiracy theories, not remembering the name of one.
Well, this one's real.
No, I know that. I'm just fucking with you. No, I know it's real. They did it to prisoners too. Yeah.
Yeah, they did it first. They did it to doctors. They would get prostitutes to dose Johns, and like this one particular guy would sit on the other side of a 2-way mirror with a toilet installed and everything, and take notes of these people fucking on acid. Anyway, God bless America
and Canada, because don't think they weren't involved.
Oh yeah. It was a mutual exchange. I'm sure we got to beat the Ruskies. Let's move on.
Okay, well, that's enough of that shit. So we're going to head into a break, and when we come back in the first segment, we're going to get an update on Lindsay Shepherd and the debacle in the Canadian universities. Anyways, so Ed, what the fuck is going on with Lindsay Shepherd, and why are you so angry?
Where do I begin? We've had a number of things that have come up. The first is, it seems that there are very ominous signs that...
Wait, hang on, Ed. You don't sound very angry.
Quick background on who, why, where, when.
Okay, sorry. All right. So Lindsay Shepherd is the teaching assistant who was hauled before a kangaroo court with 2 professors and someone from sexual violence. And she was
gender violence.
Yeah, gender violence. Sexual and gender violence it was.
Yes.
She was told she was a transphobe for playing a 5-minute clip of a debate between Jordan Peterson and another professor from the University of Toronto as well. Anyways,
transphobic gender violence. Did she bang a trap?
No.
Like what?
She basically she played a clip that basically Jordan Peterson does not use gender pronouns and refuses to, so therefore he's refusing to the identity of trans people, so therefore he is committing violence to them. If that makes any sense.
Ed, he refuses to use gender pronouns outside of he and she.
Yeah.
Yeah, not refuses to use gender pronouns.
No, the new gender pronouns.
Yes. But I don't even think, and this is going to be very strange for Dave to be defending Peterson. I don't think that, I think what he said was that he's not going to be forced to use them, not that he would not use them, right?
Correct. He said he would, if he is compelled to do that, then he will not do that. If he is not compelled, then he would have, and depending on who asked him, he would do it.
So maybe I'm wrong. My understanding is that he would call someone that transitioned and, from one to the other their new pronoun if they're polite about it. But I have heard him say that he believes that the Z, them, they, is ideological language.
Yes.
That is being strategically used, by a particular portion of the left, and he will not use it.
Correct.
Yeah, but he did say come up with something better other than they, them.
Yes.
And that he would consider using it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like we already have.
I mean, okay, so they, them is kind of the middle ground already. Like that's already what's the
it's a singular.
I'm not on it tonight. No, it's the compromise.
Well, and it's not a very good compromise because it makes grammatical nightmares.
For Z's, M's, there's like that's
we you know what, we totally went through this last week, so if anybody wants
anyway that's true.
2 weeks ago, not last week but 2 weeks ago, and I gave like the
last episode,
the last episode that we did. So just like real quick before we move on, they is either used in plural or if you're giving somebody shit. That's basically what they is used for in the singular from the fucking place that English was invented, England. So yeah, anyways, we'll move on.
Okay. So basically now there's a third party involved on the request of the university to investigate what happened. But there's already ominous signs that it's not for free speech, but it is signs that Lindsay Shepard's job is the target of the probe that's going on by the third party. And so that has come out from correspondence with the lawyer that is actually doing the probe and Lindsay's lawyer. It's 1 second there now. Just bear with me. I'll get that for you.
Well, if you have an article to read and the lawyer's name in it.
His name is Robert Senta.
Okay. And that's Lindsay's lawyer? Or
no, that's lawyer? the fact-finding lawyer. Okay. That's hired by the... So...
But do they not realize that when, like, this is one of the really, like, funny things that I find about the regressives and the SJW types is that they don't seem to understand that when they try to deplatform somebody or they pull shenanigans like this, it only makes the person, the intended target that they're trying to shut down, bigger and give them a louder voice and have more people listening to them. If they just shut the fuck up, it would be like that one classroom.
Yeah, but that's not what they want to do.
But they don't want to do that, but that's what they're doing. Like, Ed, I'm a 40-year-old carpenter. How else would I hear? I know you're going to say I'm 45. Eat a dick. How else am I going to hear about Lindsay Shepard unless they turn this into a great big fucking thing by making a bigger deal out of nothing, or the biggest deal out of nothing? Right?
Hold on. No, Dave, I wasn't going to call you 45. Okay. That must be your old age getting to you. But also, I want to back up what you're saying. In that, okay, so of course, none of us would have ever heard of Lindsay Shepard if it wasn't for this, for what they did. But beyond that, she's been on a round of podcasts now. They are adding to the narrative of the quote unquote, campus craziness. I think is what Fox calls it. So they are feeding into, and I say this all the time, they're feeding into the right's hands, very much. and she's not even on the right, but she is gaining them credit in a culture war. And the reason I'm comfortable using the phrase culture war is that, Ed has some clips coming up that's part of a larger interview that was on what's the name of the show?
The Agenda with Stephen Bacon.
The Agenda. That's right. And several of one of the guys on it said that several times called it a culture war going on. So if that's what they're calling it, I don't have a problem calling it that myself. Particularly because that's what also like Sargon calls it. So,
yeah. And what I just want to point out too that we would never have heard of Lindsay Shepherd had she not had the audacity and the sense of awareness to record what had happened to her. Because if
that's so true, if
she didn't, it would have been her word against 3 people. So, But anyway, let me get back to the update here. So,
no.
So in a letter dated December 4th, and sent to Shepherd's lawyer, Howard Levitt, from the Laurier hired lawyer Robert Senta, it reads, You asked for a copy of the complaint or complaints filed against your client. At this point in my investigation, I do not believe that there is a document that contains a complaint made about Miss Shepherd, nor is there anything I would describe as a formal complaint under any WLU policy.
Okay, wait. So is he saying that no students came forward to complain about the video that Shepherd played?
Correct.
Okay, so is he lying or is the professor lying?
Basically, what this is saying is that while he's looking through the documentation right now with this case, there has been no formal complaint made. There has not been a formal complaint made. So there wasn't a letter to the professor, or an email.
Yeah.
There is nothing like that.
As somebody that's been sued before, I'd hate to say this, but she needs to sue the shit out of them.
Yeah, this is really dangerous because this is setting up a witch hunt. Basically, it was a witch hunt to get her to teach people the way they want to be taught. Like they want them to teach. So Rambucana, Pill Plotter, whatever the other professor's name was.
Paul Pot. I'm just kidding.
And, they had a strict guideline of what they wanted to do. That means they wanted to indoctrinate students in their ideology. Because she entered this, they thought she was on the right and wanted to correct her and say, listen, if you're going to teach in my class, we want you to do this. You have the wrong opinion. This is the right opinion to use. And they said there was a student that did this, but obviously right now there's not.
Would you call like for me? I would categorize that in the equality of outcome segment. Do you need me to unpack that a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say like in capitalism you have equality of start. Socialism or Marxism, you have equality of outcome. If you're teaching everybody the exact same way and all the teachers are teaching exactly the same thing, everybody across the board, everybody's learning the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that holds true to the structure of equality of outcome, because then you don't have people thinking or being taught individually.
But that's not the way university is taught. Like each university professor is supposed to.
I know the way it's supposed to be, but I'm saying that it holds true to part of the Marxist ideology of equality of outcome, equality of teaching. Everybody teaches the exact same way. Everybody learns the exact same way. Everybody gets the exact same grade. Right?
Kind of, yes.
So there's no special individual in that.
Yes, and that's the whole thing. It breaks down.
I don't mean special. There's no individual in that.
Yeah, and the idea of the individual is supposed to be subservient to the society.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yeah. Am I off on my thinking there, or
No, in a certain way, yes, you're correct. There is also evidence that this, like I said, this whole fact-finding mission by Mr. Senta is not concerned directly about the free speech issue. It is more about McClatchy wanting someone to see if there's a legal standing where they can fire her, the TA, without. So that's what it seems to be. Now, whether that is exactly what it is or not, we will find out later.
They can't fire her at this point.
Well, no, there's.
Fucked.
I mean, yeah. But anyway,
let's be honest.
As a further line of update, there was another The Agenda program on TVO with Stephen Paikin that had a panel talking specifically.
One second,
Yeah.
just for American viewers, because as both of you know, we've looked at our stats, and there's lots of mostly Americans. And give a shout out to Finland, shout out to Australia. TVO is TV Ontario, the province that I live in.
It's the same thing as PBS in the States.
Yeah, in the States. Yeah, it's a publicly funded television.
And,
go ahead.
And this, the panel on the TVO program of The Agenda, had, a group of professors, 2 from Waterloo and 2 from the University of Toronto. And they had a geneticist, a director of women's studies / African studies. It was one was another professor of psychology, and what was the other one? Women's studies. They also had a political science professor, as well as the president of the Monk School of World Affairs.
But you have a clip?
We have a clip, but we're going to play the clip of Ronald Walcott, the director of women's studies at the U of T. And
African and Women's Studies.
African and Women's Studies, yes. And let's see what he has to say about Lindsay.
Can I say before you start this that I hate this guy? He's very annoying. It has nothing to do with his major. He's just very annoying.
Okay. I'm going to read you what he said on his Twitter before we play the clip. And his Twitter account said, basically what the clip is going to say, but it's a little bit different in the black and white. It says, I have not worked with many teaching assistants for many years. I teach mainly grad students or upper level courses. The BIPOC professors should start a hashtag, something like hashtag what my white TA did to me. Because many of us know, some of our white TAs attempt to undermine our authority as professors. So he's also making Ram Buchanan out to be a victim in this case. This is what he's trying to impress on you, that the bad white TA, Lindsay Shepherd, was the one who was actually the victim. So without further ado, we're going to play the clip for you. By Mr. Ronaldo Walcott.
Okay, this is starting at 31:20.
Let's say his name, Professor Rambakuhan, found himself in a very difficult situation. He's also an untenured man of color. And we know, I've been a professor for over 2 decades. I know that as a young, untenured black professor, when I had white TAs, they often felt that they could do the course better than I could too. And they often overstretched their own responsibilities as TAs. I am sure that in the context of this one particular incident, that there's much more surrounding that professor's own experience with this young white woman. That sheer race disempowerment speaks to these longer, deeper histories again, that the best academic and scholarly work in women's studies, black studies, and other, what I'm going to have to use this term, all disciplines have been raised in, which is that, we see that kind of response when it's a young white woman. We see that kind of response when it's a white woman. Cher did not raise Khan in parliament, right? And it's not just about hypocrisy. It's about a long, embedded history of who matters, who counts. This is about a culture.
These uppity white bitches
That's what I was thinking.
need to learn their fucking place. Like, look, you know what? I'm kind of on his side at this point. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I just want to say one thing real quick though. If you listen to the recordings of Shepard and the professors, like, race was never really. This guy's the one that's making this about race.
Yeah, I recommend that you go and listen to the entire show. It's found on YouTube.
Oh no, there's a link into it, and I actually encourage that too. And the camera at 32:23, while the guy's making this statement, the camera pans to two white professors. See if you can see their face, guys. Look at the look on the white lady's face. She's rolling her eyes hard, and the white guy. Anyway,
war where representative democracy have had to yield more space to people who've been normally shut out. And as we come into these institutions and we ask for their transformation, things are beginning to fray. The university, as it looked in the 60s, it looks different now. And 20 years from now, it's going to look different.
Different again.
And we should be prepared for it.
You know, I think...
Okay, the one thing that I really want to stress here is that you see how he said they went into the institution and changed it from within. And now he's saying that people are kicking up against what they're changing because we're uppity white people. That's what I'm assuming from the context of what he said before.
You know, and I want to unpack what I think he means. He used the phrase, in our representative democracy, we have to yield more space to the people that have historically been disenfranchised from our institutions. And what that means is he wants to give special rights and privileges to people of color and trans people within the universities. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, that's exactly right.
Okay. Fuck off. Like, no. Everyone should be equal under the law and in policy. That is the very basis of our law system and our justice and what we believe to be right. Well, or I do.
He's also the person who claims that me quoting from Martin Luther King is a microaggression. So,
well, he can suck a cock, man. Like, anyone can quote Martin Luther. Like, great words are great words. A great sentiment is a great dream is a great dream. It doesn't matter who's saying it.
I would say that a white American has more. I don't want to say right, or it would just make more sense to me that a white American would be quoting Martin Luther than a black Canadian.
Well, isn't it white America that Martin Luther King was talking to?
Yes.
Isn't it a success to have white Americans quoting Martin Luther King?
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most profound words he's ever said. Martin Luther King's line, I dream of a time when people will be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. That is the most profound statement I think I've heard in the last 100 years.
I want to point out, too, that everyone was looking and nodding at this guy when he was talking about how we need to, quote, yield more space. Everyone was agreeing. And, that is anti-meritocratic, which is...
but it's also the fact that they're trying to appease him. That's what I don't like.
Do you want to get back into the clip?
Yeah,
sure,
let's get back into it.
Hashtag no racist.
That the con case is an example where the same principles apply as they do to Lindsay Shepard.
Okay, pause it here. I got to get background. The con case they're referring to is a student, a Muslim student, I think, from Halifax, Dartmouth, who on her personal Facebook page said that all kinds of racist things about white people, and the university actually suspended her, I think, based on those comments, which I don't think is right because she has the right to free speech of itself.
But she doesn't have right to free speech, Ed.
Why?
She lives in Canada, and we have hate speech laws.
Yeah, but the university shouldn't interfere. That should be, if it's a hate speech law, it's because it's a personal Facebook.
Sure.
They should not have been the university that interfered. It should have been the legal process. But,
Sure.
Right. But anyway, that's the con case that they're referring to in this clip. Sorry.
That the con case is an example where the same principles apply as they do to Lindsay Shepherd. Whatever, you can disagree with her. You can say that her language was uncivil as some of the stuff that Lindsay Shepherd showed in class. And civility is actually not a legal obligation, but it certainly is an important way that we enable people to get into a debate. But if for anybody not to defend her, who would defend Shepherd is, as you say, absolutely hypocritical. For me, they're exactly equivalent. And they're both core.
One was a Facebook post and one...
Pause that. So it's exactly equivalent to be teaching a communications course. The subject of the day is gender pronouns as used in public. Showing a debate about gender pronouns is equivalent to going on Facebook and ranting a bunch of racist stuff?
No, what she's saying, the principle of free speech is equivalent, not what they said.
Okay.
The principle.
Okay, good. Because I thought that, because at first, I liked that old lady for a little while there. And then I was like, oh, maybe I hate her.
No, she's
my favorite on this panel, yeah.
Yeah.
She's a rock star.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, Ed.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dustin.
One was a tutorial. Those have different purposes. Right?
No, but I'm saying the same standards apply, and there should not.
One involves academic freedom, and one involves freedom of expression. They're different kinds of freedoms.
There should not have been an investigation of a student who made that kind of comment. There could be all kinds of debate inside the university about whether it's civil, whether it's not. But there should not have been an official process launched. And that's why I don't
want...
From
Summa Khan?
Right. And that's why I'm not comfortable.
The process of the university allows for the kinds of positions that a Peterson or a Shepherd hold to take precedence.
Well, hang on. She said she didn't hold that position. For the record, she said she did not hold the position.
A Peterson or a Shepherd. I'm not talking about her necessarily holding the position that he holds, but previous to the event, it's very clear what position she holds. But what I'm saying is using them as examples.
Whoa, no.
Show me the receipts on that one, please. Because there is none, zero, zilch, nada, leading up to this, what her political opinion was. She was a SJW pretty much up until this point, which she got red-pilled the hard way.
That keeps happening too.
The university itself, in its normative practices, allow those kinds of positions to have credence. And those are the kinds of positions that are often given weight and freight within the logic of the white supremacist university as we know it.
Okay. I want to push back. I know we got to finish this, but I'm sorry. She was told in that meeting that it was probably illegal for her to say that. She was told that she can't play him again. It looks maybe legal problems. And he's claiming that that's the viewpoint that gets precedent. That's the viewpoint that is supported. What the fuck? No, there's laws against it.
And also to say any part of Canadian society is white supremacist is literally insane.
He keeps going, Dave. You gotta listen to the rest of the clip.
Stupid to say that universities are white supremacists in Canada is fucking insane. The issue here is that our population is mostly white. It's high 80s, 90% white. It doesn't mean we're a white supremacist country. It just doesn't.
All right. Well, shut up, you snow ape. Let's get back into this.
Yeah, fucking white bastard.
Emmett, can I understand from you? Do you think all of what we've been discussing here is a genuine fear that maybe your students actually experience?
Let's skip him because he's a white male. We don't want to hear from a white
male. Fuck off, Sargon. Fuck off.
Play.
He makes some really good points.
Or is this something that sort of is superimposed from the outside world and you happen to be the cauldron where it's all happening right now?
I don't want to overstate it as a phenomenon generally, right? Like, I think 2017 had some troubling cases that concern me, and they extend beyond the two we've been talking about to include canceled events, to Andrew Potter being resigned
Dump from
from
McGill?
the director of
Being
the McGill
resigned?
Institute.
Being resigned is not
That's a nice way to
be
put it.
clear. Yeah, no. But I actually think 99.9% of the time, everything runs really smoothly. We tend to, I think this is as much a problem of administration as it is anything emanating from the students. This is not, in my experience, profs are far more whiny than students are. I really do push back against this kind of, well.
The first time I heard that, that sounded crazy. But with the new information that maybe no students complained about it, that may be factual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh.
21st century university students are snowflakes kind of attitude. I really don't think that's the problem at all. I think when there are complaints, to answer your question, I think they're genuine. I think there might be cases sometimes where a student needs, rather than an investigation launch, the student needs to be explained to what the purpose of a university is and why what they are offended by is not necessarily something that the university is in a position to take action against. But where there are cases, I would hope that faculty members running classes are sensitive to precisely the sort of issues we're talking about. And as someone who, again, delves into these issues in literally every class I teach, I've probably taught about 3,000 students over 10 years of university teaching. I'm not aware of any complaint, either to me or to someone above me, regarding something that's been said in any of my classes.
So it is rare. I mean, Michael Corrin made the same.
So he gave his opinion on. I want to throw mine in real quick. With the new information, I'm going to put forward a new hypothesis. The ideology turns the professors into fragile snowflakes, and then they push it onto the students. Some of the students are also infected. What a terrible word! Are also infected, and it leads to where we are. Along with helicopter parenting and kids always having authority now to solve their problems for them instead of, intergroup dynamics and so forth. But sorry. Enough me armchair psychologizing an entire generation. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that this is a phenomenon that's happening that is top down. Like, these are professors that are teaching these that are allowing this to happen in the first place, but they do it because they want to drive a ideology forward. They have a plan of attack and they carry it out. It does help that these millennials, as you point out, are spoon-fed, mommy coddled, helicopter parented kids. But anyway, go ahead.
Point in his piece the other day. He's on campus now at U of T, and he says students feel comfortable engaging in different discussions.
They're high profile and rare.
High profile and rare.
They worry about the Ed Shear quote, right? Ed Shear talked about a crackdown on
Andrew Scheer.
Andrew Scheer. A crackdown on free speech. We've got one anecdote. That's not a crackdown. That's an intentional hyperbolic move for political purposes.
But does this...
That is an obvious ignoring of a larger narrative going on. I'm sorry. Do we or do we not have black-clad communists showing up and stopping free speech on campuses in multiple countries on our great continent? Oh, okay.
I just want to say that they pulled a university professor onto a panel to talk about politics and universities, and she couldn't name the leader of the goddamn opposition. It would be like a university professor in the United States not being able to fucking name the leader of the Democratic Party or the fucking president of the United States. That's the equivalent of what just happened. Just so everybody's fucking clear on that.
And plus, let's back it up a bit. She called it an anecdote. It's not a fucking anecdote. It's not a personalized story. This is a fucking recording of a kangaroo court that was put together to ram proper think down someone's throat. There's nothing to do. That's not an anecdote. And furthermore, and she's trying to say that this is a hyperbolic just for political points. No, what was hyperbolic was their sense of outrage over a 5-minute clip that showed both sides of the fucking debate. So let's get that clear.
Comments are disabled on this video, by the way, guys. It also has twice as many downvotes as upvotes. Yeah, let's finish. There's 2 minutes left.
Demonstrates the crisis in whiteness. That's why he's doing it. Much of this is about the crisis of whiteness taking place in the context of the university.
What's the crisis of whiteness?
The crisis of whiteness is that white people are no longer allowed to simply say and behave in ways that they could, for instance, in the 50s in the context of the university. We now push back on it. We now call it illegitimate. We now call it intolerable. We ask for better behavior, better practices, better policies.
Don't most university students know that now?
Well, actually, we keep talking about university students like if they're empty vessels. Those same students bring politics too. They bring their own political positions too, right? So when I'm teaching a class, I'm not teaching a bunch of empty vessels who don't hold political views about the material that we might be engaging with.
We're down to our last minute. Now, I want you to follow up on that because I would have assumed any millennial who's in a university now knows the proper way to behave on these issues.
Okay,
you say no?
Yeah, I mean, do they know the proper way to behave? Yes. Do they understand the issues that are out there? No. And I think the best thing that we can do for students, no matter who the student is put that issue out there in their face and make them think about it and have them confront their position largely of privilege and power.
And
I mean, even if you've got,
the best thing you can do is make students understand that rights are complex, that this country is built on balancing rights. If we have freedom of religion and women's rights, we've had a long discussion in this country about what we do with certain religious practices that systemically discriminate against women. So we are in a constant conversation about balancing rights. It's complex. It's hard work. It evolves over time. And we need an environment which allows people to say things that challenge conventional wisdom.
And Janice, we also live in a state and a country that continues to engage in forms of state discrimination, right? Carding is still real across this country and so on. So these questions are not simply questions that are neutral. These are not simply questions of we all come to them. Of course, but this is not a question of challenge. What I'm challenging is that this is not just about students.
I can't challenge the clock because it's run out. I want to thank all of you for what has been an absolutely splendid debate about a subject that may be rare, but is fascinating as hell and important. Kudos to all.
Universities are important to our society.
Indeed. And kudos to all of you for coming into TVO tonight and having this conversation with us. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
So the name of this segment, by the way, is How Free Should Free Expression Be? And it has mused me into a little mental experiment. You pull up to McDonald's and they say, hey, we have free cheeseburgers today. And you're like, oh, I'll take one. They're like, oh, that'll be $2.50. Free there's not degrees of free. Free is a state of not having to what like
cash a check.
What?
But see, what really frustrates me is that Ronaldo Walcott was not challenged on any of his points about white supremacy, about whiteness, about how this country is a white supremacist. There's no pushback against that. They just let him spew, and how the fact that Lindsay was racist, and this is why we're rallying to her side.
The whole thing blows my mind. You have 2-3 straight white guys sitting there talking about how they are giving too much levity and opinion and rights. Like it's almost a mind fuck. It's like hearing a black person be like, maybe we shouldn't be able to vote. Like it's the weirdest thing, man. I don't get.
It's this white guilt that you're supposed to have. That's what they try to teach you, right? And these guys buy it hook, line, and sinker. Like I had a guy on Facebook the other day, and I had to laugh because he said that, it was Facebook. He was talking about Native Americans and how he supports them, and all the Europeans should go back to Europe. And I'm like going, well, I'm half and half. What the fuck? Which half stays and which half goes? And how do you, like, this, the simplicity of these people thinking is the same as, these, unfortunately, university professors. They're very unnuanced and very simplistic in their thinking when it comes to these
you have to be 66% white to stay. So, Ed, I'm gonna send you a saliva test, and we're gonna find out.
You're fucking gone too. What the fuck are you talking about?
Let me tell you what. Me and Ed will go and start a motherfucking utopia. Let's go fix some shit, Ed.
There you go. That sounds like a deal.
I know. And Whitey Whiterson, the whitest whiter ever.
You're an immigrant, so you got to go over the wall too.
That's true. I don't want to go. I was going to say, I'll go back, but then I would be speaking.
Well, you go back and they'd be like, who the fuck is this Canuck? Like, what's he doing over here on our island?
Yeah, but I don't know anything about Haram.
Oh. Ireland has actually some of the lowest lowest they have numbers. One of the smallest Islamic populations in Western Europe. Yes.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So, oh man, next week we might be talking about some European.
Japan has the lowest.
They have the lowest population growth on the planet.
And also the lowest immigration. They just don't take anybody in, which is really,
I think that it could end up being really good for Japan. Like the cost of their housing is dropping. Like it's like there's going to be some problems, but in the end, I think it's going to be a good for them.
It would be good for them if they actually had sex still.
Yes. Well,
but they don't.
I think that after the population,
this is like way off.
Yeah. Which, who?
I'm trying to get you to wrap this up.
If they didn't go to robot cafes and buy dirty underwear out of vending machines and still dated each other and had sex, it would be a good thing. But they don't. And
no, hold on. Before we, you know what? I'm going to pitch a movie, and you guys let me know if this should make it in the show. I'm going to pitch a movie. Okay. So you know the Last Samurai, where
with Tom Cruise.
Well, the Americans go over and they're modernizing the Japanese. They're teaching them how to be civilized. That would be with the white people, the perspective. New movie. We send over a white guy, and now we have to go back and teach the Japanese how to put penises in vagina. We actually just teach them how to fuck again, because they seem to have forgotten. No? Yes. I mean, like, if nothing else, this can be a great porno.
Yes. Even the hookers, they just cuddle.
Oh.
It's so weird. All right. Okay. Well, fucking, if you guys have an opinion on, go back and listen to the last show before this one, and then kind of listen to us fucking ramble on some more about it. If you guys have an opinion on it, or you disagree with us, write in, send us a message. That was that segment. We'll be back with the next one right after the break. All right, and we're back from the break, and in this next segment, we're going to talk about how, and I can't even believe that we're going to be talking about this, but how I wouldn't even say my country, but Justin Trudeau thinks that instead of trying to prosecute or not let back in Canadian citizens that went to go fight for ISIS, not against ISIS, should be let back into Canadian society, and not even just let back in, but rehabilitated. Let that sink in.
To what extent are these people being observed?
Earlier this year, the government launched a counter-radicalization center, the Canadian Centre for Community Engagement and Prevention of Violence. To counter extremism, a budget in 2016 earmarked $35 million over 5 years for the center. But the issue with the center is they haven't actually made contact with any of the 60 known returnees. They're just taking stats on them. So nobody's actually attempted to de-radicalize them in the first place. So what are we doing? We're just taking numbers as they come back and then they're free to roam around?
I have no idea. And when it's put in forward to, like, on the floor of the House to see what Justin Trudeau's actually doing about this, he doesn't give any straight answers, which is pretty scary.
Well, we have a clip of what happened in the floor of that Parliament Hill, right?
Mr. Speaker, CSIS warned the Liberal government all the way back in 2015 that returning ISIS fighters were a continuing and real threat to Canada. They warned that Canadian citizens were recruited by ISIS, quote, not because they needed more foot soldiers, but because they want to teach the Westerners to take the struggle into every neighborhood and subway back home. So ISIS specifically trained Canadian fighters to come back here and terrorize our community, and the Liberals knew about it for over 2 years. So why is the Prime Minister so focused on reintegration services and not putting these people in jail?
Right, Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this government, like all governments, takes extremely seriously the safety of Canadians, and that's why everything we do is focused on keeping Canadians safe. And we know that a society that is safe is one in which we are using a broad range of tools to keep Canadians safe. Yes, we have enforcement, surveillance, and national security tools that we use to a significant degree, but we also have methods of de-emphasizing or de-programming people who want to harm our society, and that's the things we have to move. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Order.
Mr. Speaker, it's this Prime Minister's that's de-emphasizing Canadian security, and Canadians are tired of it.
Ooh, now that's cancer on your ankle.
It was Conservatives who amended the criminal code to make it an offence to leave Canada to fight for ISIS. It was Conservatives who are focused on giving our law enforcement new tools to prosecute ISIS fighters. This Prime Minister is using a broad spectrum that includes poetry and podcasts and all kinds of counselling and group hug sessions, Mr. Speaker. When will the Prime Minister take the security of Canadians seriously and look for ways to put these ISIS fighters in jail?
Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party learned nothing from the last election and the lessons Canadians taught them. They ran an election on snitch lines against Muslims. They ran an election on Islamophobia and division. And still, they play the same games trying to scare Canadians. The fact is, we always focus on the security of Canadians, and we always will. And they play politics of fear, and Canadians reject that. Wednesday, come early. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Order. Order.
Mr. Speaker, nobody voted in the last election to elect a government that would be so focused on the rights of ISIS terrorists, people who want soldiers burned alive. When people like that come home, they don't need to spend time writing haikus, they need to spend time in jail. When will the Prime Minister take that seriously?
Can I say that I kind of like the Conservative Party?
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the thing with that is that, like, even if you agree with Justin Trudeau on that the Conservative Party ran on the fears last time, right? Fear, politics of fear. Even if you agree with Justin Trudeau on the fact that, not the fact that, but even if you agree with what he says that the Conservative Party ran on the politics of fear last time, I really don't see how not wanting ISIS fighters roaming free in Canada to do as they please as fear-mongering. right? That's just like, okay. So statistics say that 180 to 190 Canadian citizens. So Goodall, who is the head of the RCMP, so Goodall said there are between 190 with connections to Canada that they know have traveled to Syria and Iraq, among other locations, as well as there are roughly foreign fighters who have returned to Canada, about the same numbers 2 years ago. So the others haven't come back yet. But how is it fear-mongering to say that you should, what they've done when they went over there? So how is it fear-mongering to say that they should be in jail or they shouldn't be let back into Canada? How is that the politics of fear? I just, aside from saying, they could hurt you, which they could, but just, they've done shitty things. Right?
Well, I mean, they actually, let's put it in perspective, they actually fought against their own countrymen.
Yes.
I mean, they decided to be treasonous and leave this country to fight against this country. Sorry, the rest belongs in jail.
Yes. So here's what Andrew Scheer has to say. These are people that got on a plane to fight for a terrorist organization committing some of the worst atrocities imaginable. They need to be persecuted and dealt with to the full extent of the law. And I agree with that. I agree.
Yes, I agree. Now, Dustin, I just sent you another clip.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. Can you please play that one?
Yes, sir, I can.
The police and security agencies of Canada are doing their job to make sure that the threat is properly contained.
Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
My colleague opposite didn't answer my colleague's question, so I'll give him another chance. Of the number of people that have been identified as fighting for ISIS and have returned to Canada, how many of those persons are under 24-hour surveillance?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member, I am sure, would not want me to engage in operational discussions on the floor of the House of Commons that could, in fact, disclose the security posture of the Government of Canada. What the honourable member needs to know is the RCMP, CSIS, and all of the other relevant agencies of the Government of Canada are doing their job to take every necessary step to make sure that Canadians are safe and, at the same time, that all the rights and freedoms of Canadian citizens are properly respected.
For Calgary Nose Hill.
Well, the answer to that question should be all of them.
That's right.
It concerns me that the minister won't give that number. I wonder what he's hiding, especially given the fact that the Prime Minister yesterday said that even one ISIS fighter posed a threat to this country, and we know that these people have fought for a group that have beheaded people, burnt Allied soldiers, raped women, and indeed carried out terrorist attacks on countries around the world, including Canada. So why aren't every single one of these people under 24-hour surveillance?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the police of this country, particularly the RCMP, but also in collaboration with all other police forces in Canada, and the CBSA at the border, and CSIS, our intelligence service, do the monitoring to make sure that every threat to the national security of Canada is properly monitored, surveilled, and investigated, and when evidence is found of any offense, Mr. Speaker, charges are laid.
I would want those idiots to know that they were under surveillance and they couldn't get away with fuck all. Like you wouldn't try to hide the fact that you would be like, I'm laying the screws to you fuck. But here's the thing too, is like the other thing that I was reading today was like, so like all the countries that have had Westerners or their civilians go over and fight for ISIS, on the battlefield, they actively seek out those traitors and try to kill them. Canada is the only one out of all of the Western nations without that policy. So we don't actually try to kill these people. We welcome them back. Oh, hey, come on back. Fucking la-di-da. Here's some welfare. Like, what the fuck?
Well, in that clip, the Minister for Safety basically said that we will charge them when they do, if and when they find stuff on them during their surveillance. These people already have committed atrocities. They shouldn't be free. They should be before a court of law and tried in a court of law.
Well, it's in prison. It's very simple. It's very simple. If you can't charge them in Canada, you take them to the fucking Hague.
Yes, for crimes against humanity.
For war crimes. And or you don't let them back in. Okay, I'm sorry. Here's the deal. If you're from Canada, the United States, Great Britain, Germany, or any of those places, and you travel to Iraq or Syria at this point in time, and you're not a government official, we know you're up to no good. Period. Right?
It's safer to assume as much, yes.
So, I mean, unless you're going to fight for the Kurds, but
right.
Like you don't come back. That's
no. Here's the thing. I would rather have a president that makes Pocahontas jokes and hunts down traitors and kills them, than says, "Hey, I know you guys want to kill us." And rape and murder and plunder. But if you would like to come back, we promise not to watch you too hard.
Yeah.
It's the damnedest thing I've ever heard, guys. And I've heard some fucked up ideas.
But it's also the fact too that it is not just the fact that we are allowing people to come back into this country. We just gave a guy $10.5 million. Taxpayer dollars.
Yes.
That killed an American soldier while he was over there with his father, who was the money man for bin Laden, by the way. He killed an American soldier, blinded another. And our government gave him $10.5 million because he didn't have a good time at Guantanamo Bay. And like, what the fuck? And to make the best of it, they did it when the House was closed, so there would be no debate.
For the summer, so there would be no debate and no opposition. And Trudeau didn't even call the. So he said that like he did it because we had already been in court for a long time. We've already spent a lot of money on court, and they did a settlement, but he didn't call the widow to apologize. He didn't call the injured vet to apologize. But ex-Prime Minister Stephen Harper did.
You also don't want to set the precedent that the government's just going to pay out people that were fighting against them.
That's why we're being sued for $50 million now by another Guantanamo Bay inmate. Right? Because that precedent has been set. So now there's a lawsuit for $50 million.
Boy, oh boy, he knows how to save money, that Trudeau.
But like I was saying, he didn't call, like, even though he said that he didn't necessarily agree with having to give the guy money, he didn't call and apologize to the widow. He didn't call the blinded vet and say sorry. Ex-Prime Minister Stephen Harper did, though.
But, Dave, he is so implicated in this in some ways because what he says is that he didn't want to give this money over, but he did it when the House was closed, so there was no debate, there was no discussion about this money. He didn't allow it to go through the courts of law. So if he, to me, this was a rush job for political gain, and because he doesn't want to seem Islamophobic.
Yes.
I think
I
think that it's ideologically motivated. I think that, I mean, you hear these guys talk about how it's all blowback from Western intervention, right? So if you honestly believe that your country is the reason they're attacking, and that they have legitimate grievances against you, doesn't what he did make perfect sense?
Sure.
Yes, but it's total horseshit.
Okay, well, and what I'm doing is I'm once again trying to not stand from my position and judge what they're doing. I'm trying to understand why would they do that, and it fits within their normal mode of operation for both. But once again, I'm talking about my president and your prime minister. This is what we would expect from them. It's the way they act.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
But here's one thing that I want to bring up too, the Islamophobia thing. What fucking planet is it Islamophobic not to want fucking assholes that traveled to Syria and Iraq and raped, murdered, beheaded people to come back and fucking have a la-di-da fucking life in Canada? On what fucking planet is that Islamophobic? Jesus fucking Christ, I want to know.
Because you want to surveil them, Dave. You want to surveil them to make sure they're not going to commit crimes here. That's Islamophobic. You're just targeting them because they're Muslim.
No, I'm targeting them because they're fucking assholes.
I agree. I'm just making their case.
I think they should. I think they should be killed. What kind of phobic does that make me? What kind of?
It doesn't. It makes you a normal thinking fucking person.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's like $35 million for this fucking kumbaya session that Andrew Scheer was talking about, and they haven't even talked to any of them. They just take the fucking data. So like I did a segment on the old podcast about Norway doing this type of shit, right? Like they invited them back and they gave them welfare. And I was like, I was flabbergasted that a country could do this. And now my own goddamn country's doing it. Jesus fuck.
It is the fucking SJW type crowd that do this, right? I mean, a conservative or a central liberal or a centrist liberal would never conceive of doing this.
Listen, a thinking human being wouldn't fucking think this, okay?
Anyone that isn't ridden by guilt and doesn't believe that they're actually to blame would do this. That's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only way that this makes sense to me. But because, you say that he does it for political gain, but what the fuck is the political gain?
Because that's what he strokes, that he's so tolerant, he is not Islamophobic, and there's a lot of people in this country that think that that's the way things should be run.
But hey, like, if you had if you had a country, or if you had an area that there was like Nazis took over and there was like Nazi terrorists and they were fucking raping and plundering, there's no way Justin Trudeau would let Nazi terrorists back in the country.
No,
there's just no fucking way.
Because they're far right, Dave. The difference is these are you have to understand the mentality that they're going through. Like, they think that in our country, Muslims are a minority, and they are. They're a minority of the Canadian population.
Well, they're a tiny minority.
Yeah. So what they think is that they deserve the full respect that a minority deserves in a majority country, because they can be easily picked on and stamped out. But globally, they're not a minority. They're a huge majority. And when you're a minority in an Islamic country, you're not afforded the rights of the majority of the country.
Okay.
The same thing is not given to you.
Let me jump in there for a second, Ed, if you don't mind. Sorry to interrupt you. But this isn't a Muslim conversation. This is a conversation about some assholes that went over to fucking, like they could be anything. I don't give a shit. They went there, they sold women, they raped, they beheaded, they fucking burned, they killed Canadian soldiers, they killed American soldiers, they tried to take over fucking countries. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're Muslim. It has to do with the fact that they're fucking assholes. Right?
Of course. But that's one strain that you... But they try to push it that way, right?
Should be about is what I'm saying to you. I know they do, but this is what it should be about. It's criminals. We don't even afford the criminals in our own country the leeway that they're like if you get caught right now, marijuana is not legal, but if you get it'll be this summer. But if you get caught selling marijuana in Canada, you go to jail.
Right.
Okay.
But again,
you get caught shoplifting, you go to fucking jail. You can go over to Syria and Iraq and do the worst things imaginable and come back and fucking free ride, bitch.
Yeah, again, it comes back to the ideology, as Dustin mentioned. Mm-hmm. It is the construct that they have put in their heads that the West deserve it. It's the self-flagellating type of policy that is really starting to run rampant in Western culture right now. It's the decadence of our culture that's allowing this to happen.
Mm-hmm. I think it's crazy. And I hate to say this because I never vote conservative, but I hope Scheer wins. Just based on this alone, I'm like, fuck. We have to get out of this situation we're in.
I mean, it's going to come to a point where it gets dangerous to live in Canada.
I'm thinking that we are building the wall on the wrong border.
Hey, listen. We've had one terrorist attack in the last 2 years, and he came from you fucks. I think we're not building the wall. Like,
oh, okay.
We need to build that wall.
How many jihadists are running around your country? Here's that guy. They're not gonna start blowing up things right away. They're gonna be there for a while. They're gonna radicalize other people. They're gonna see those guys aren't gonna do anything. Mm-hmm. You see, they're gonna convince other people to do things.
Yeah. And like the problem is like your country has it too. Germany has it. England has it. Like Westerners that left their country to go over and fight for ISIS should not be allowed back in.
That's
like
right.
If your passport says that you've been to Syria or Iraq, no, you're not coming back. I'm sorry. You turn them away at the fucking airport.
Many of them burnt their passports when they joined ISIS. So how are they getting back? That's my question. Is this diplomatic?
You can get new passports, right? Like, it's not like they give you one and done.
No, but I mean, how are they getting it while they're over there in the first place? You can't get a Canadian passport in any other country but Canada.
You don't go to the embassy. I don't know how it works. I'm not a globetrotter.
But me either. But I mean, I can't see someone who's been able to fight for ISIS going to an embassy and getting it. I didn't think they'd be allowed to back in. So who am I to fucking say?
Well, they couldn't come to my embassy, but obviously they could come to yours. I mean, they came back to your fucking country.
Yeah, I know.
So they're obviously welcome on the soil.
3 of them burnt their passports, Ed. There's 190 of them out there. You know what I mean? They didn't all burn their passports. A couple of them did. The rest of them are coming back. And it's fucking bullshit. Not in my fucking country. Jesus, or obviously in my country. I'd like to say not in my country, but it is in my country. It's insane. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It would be like welcoming back the Nazis in 1946. So like you have a bunch of Canadian citizens that decided, hey, I'm going to go fight for the Nazis. And then in 46, we're like, yeah, come on back. Here's some welfare. No, you know what happened when Allied soldiers, either American, Canadian, or Britain, found one of their countrymen that were fighting for the Nazis? They were executed on sight. Executed on sight. And that's it. No prisoner, no fucking tribunal, no nothing. And that was the law. And it should be that again. Because I don't know if people are aware of this, but Canada and the US have declared war on ISIS and have been dropping bombs on them and training Iraqi soldiers to fight against them. And our special service forces have been picking them off. We don't have our main boots on the ground, but JTF and the SEALs are over there. Like the longest recorded shot was just recorded a few months ago by a Canadian sniper from JTF, which was like 4 kilometers, and he killed an ISIS leader. Like they're fighting against us, and this fucking twat is letting them back in. It is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's indescribable. That I can't even believe we're talking about it in reality. Like I never in my wildest dreams would I thought this would be happening.
Like, have any of these cunts killed Canadians or Americans that are the letting back in?
Would they admit to it if they did?
No, of course they wouldn't. But I'm just asking. I like it's a legit question, right? It is a legit question.
Or to Dustin's point, how many people have been radicalized basically by these people?
They come back and they talk about the glories of, being a warrior monk.
Rivers of gold, Christian virgins. Son of a bitch. All right. Okay, well, I'm angry. That was the show for this week. Justin Trudeau really pissed me off. Like, that's insane. Just come on back, ISIS. And I gotta raise my fucking kids around this shit.
Dave, as long as I still can in this country, fuck Trudeau.
Well, obviously.
Well, what do you mean, as long as you can?
Free speech is being encroached upon in my country. Far.
Oh, I thought there was anti-gay sex laws. My bad.
I'm not worried about being able to say fuck Trudeau, but I am worried about them fucking bringing, letting, this. I don't even know what to say. I've said what I have to say. It's crazy. It's stupid.
All right. Well, you two racists have a good night, huh?
You too. Alabama.
Racist. Yeah, I'm so fucking racist.